Samope, Sampadia, Timothy Dienum Kotu, Era One Radio, Samope, Jumpadia, Timothy Dienum Kotu, Era One Radio, and Yumpankuma, Asam Pankuma.
Yeah, good afternoon, our guest and our host and all the team members. My greetings to everybody all over the world and those people who are traveling to West Africa today. I have a short discussion to tell everyone who is going to West Africa, and for that much, the larger population of Africa and how we can protect ourselves from the infection of malaria. In essence, the Ghanaians who have flew or flown from Ghana for many years, when going back to Ghana, you need to do something before you can go there. And I'm going to talk about this. I'll also talk about the nature of the vector transmitter, and then the parasite that are to be transmitted, and the time that they transmit the disease, and how we, the people who are going to be bitten by these mosquitoes, will transmit the disease to us. And possibly I will speak about the incubation period, and finally go on to the prevention of the disease. Again, my name is Dr. Opoku Agyeman, and my area of specialty is public health epidemiology of communicable infectious and chronic diseases. And I'm also a registered nurse. I've worked for more than 17 years as a nurse and the rest of my life in public health. So I can blend the two of them and give you the notion or the preventive aspect of things that you need in order to avoid disease that can cripple your life. Again, if you hear the name of this program, they call it Your Health is You, Protect It. Your health is wealth, protect it. If your health is well protected, all we are talking about is don't allow yourself to be infected or to get diseased. There are several preventive methods that you can use to protect yourself from any kind of disease. But don't give yourself or don't expose yourself to about 100% risk of getting any infection. And every infection is preventable, even accidents. Most 99% of accidents are preventable. Well, unless otherwise you refuse not to take preventive cautions. Else, if you don't, you will get it. If you do, you will not. And even if you get it with, if you take all the preventive measures and you get it, the kind of infection you will get will not be exaggerated and probably lead you to even the hospitality. So here again, I want to thank all of you who are listening to us to pay attention to the information that I'm going to pass to you this afternoon. Particularly those of you who are traveling to Ghana, whether you're a Ghanaian or any foreigner going to Ghana, whether you're a Ghanaian or Nigerian or Sierra Leoneans or Liberian or Cameroonians or anyone who is going to West Africa at this time of the year must pay particular attention to the message that I will pass across. I am going to talk about malaria. It is very sad that at this time of the world year, malaria is still infringing a huge death on our people in West Africa. and most of the African countries. If you look at almost all the world, with the exception of maybe southern part of Asia and Southern America, malaria is almost eradicated. If it is not, it is very minimum. But when you look at places like West Africa, malaria is the predominant disease there. But I can assure you that malaria's program has been implemented there for many, many, many years. Much money has been spent on malaria control and prevention. Yet, the disease prevalence is rising. From the childhood all the way to adulthood, malaria has or is infecting everyone. So we ask ourselves, if one single disease is affecting us every day in our lives, why can't we do something about it? The interesting thing is this: almost the indigenous person in the most rural area knows the cycle of this malaria. Yet, the measure to prevent it is very, very limited. I do not know whether they don't know how to prevent it, or they don't have the idea to do it, or they are ignorant about it, of which I am doubting about it. Malaria prevention, it demands the totality of the community to come together, set up a good plan, work the plan individually and collectively, then implement the plan according to what they have agreed on, and lo and behold, they can reduce malaria infection. If for the next 2-3 years, there won't be a malaria infection in that community. So it's a community involvement activities. If time permits us some time, we would set up all the plans that one can use to control or to reduce malaria in the community. But today, I am going to talk about foreigners who go to visit West Africa and go back to their country and probably get infected of malaria. Let me start with what is malaria at all? Malaria is the result of being infected with Plasmodium species, any of them, either malaria, Plasmodium falciparum, or others. There are 4 types of them. And you can never be infected by contact with another human being. There's a vector that is between the infected people and then the exposed people. The vector is the Anopheles species, called Anopheles species. They are the one that transmit the disease from the infected person to the non-infected person. And the infection, after having been infected, it has a duration between 2 weeks to 21 days to actually to manifest the first sign. So, in essence, I'm just jumping to the end here, but I'm going back to explain how the infection takes place. When you are infected, there are two areas of growth of the infected parasite in the body. One is in the liver, and the other one takes place in the red blood cells. When the organism gets into your body, you don't get infection because they run all the way to your liver and reproduce themselves. And then from there, they come to infect the red blood cells too. So once in the liver, you don't get any kind of sign. Some people may get, but you may not probably notice it. But when they come to infect your red blood cells, it is there that you manifest the signs of malaria. Now, there is a way that you can be infected. You know, those people in the West Africa, living in West Africa these days, some of them are maybe immune with this malaria infection. And some of them are immune in the sense that the gametocytes of the malaria parasite in their system is flowing, but they are not expressing any sign of infection. So when a mosquito, which I will talk about it in a few minutes, let me just crack down here. When a mosquito bites somebody with infected malaria, falciparum species, and probably pick the gametocytes, both male and females, and swallow it, it had some kind of growth in the mosquito for a while. So when the growth of these parasites mature, they come into the proboscis of the mosquito. So when the mosquito bites you, he excretes these parasites into you. The parasites also go into your liver, as I said, and then they will come to your red blood cell to attack them. Most of the lab work for your test is seen in the red blood cell. You can hardly see them in the liver. So therefore, that is a brief idea of how these parasites get into your body. But the reason why it is very common in the summer in West Africa is this. One, there is rain, and at the same time, there is sun. Sun is shining very much there, and there's too much rains at that time. So the place for these mosquitoes to bleed are many. You know, these mosquitoes bleed in clean waters. So every collected leaf anywhere, a mosquito can go and bleed in there. And then after they bled in these places, they become plentiful in the country, in the community. And as we all know, the female mosquito depends on blood to get his eggs mature. So they have to feed on human beings or animals. And their feeding pattern in West Africa, to be precise, is in the morning, early morning, between the hours of 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and in the late evenings, sometime late evening or in the night when you're sleeping. So what you do, if you go there, I mean, the preventive part will come in there, but let me just move forward and I will tell you how far you can prevent yourself. When this mosquito bleed and the eggs are hatched and they are able to fly, you know, we know that the first feed is on plants to get the energy to move. So they feed on plants and get energy. They got enough plant to feed on because it has rained. All plants are germinating, so they have enough plant to germinate to fly. So they go to the plant, get their first feed, and fly closer to the communities. Now the reason why it is also another important for us to understand this thing is this: in in West African climate, the summer is hot and it rains, so most of the people expose themselves because of the heat. They don't have any protective clothing, and I'll come to that. So when these insects get into the communities, they hide under chairs, the chairs in the houses, which are very stable. Nobody pushes them. They hide there. They hide at the corners. Sometimes, our people put their waters in some pot or something in the kitchen. They go hide there, very cold place. And getting to the latter part of the night, they will come by the door where we sleep. I don't know how they imagine to know where we sleep. Then they come and sit by the doors. Sometimes when they see you opening the door, they will follow you to the room, or they may sit at the door. As soon as you open it and you're about to close it, the air will blow them into the room. And then when they go to the room, they go and hide. They will hide in the room there for all night. When they see you with a deep sleep, then they will get into business. I think all of you maybe might have noted that when mosquitoes are in your room in the night, the way they fly and the noise they make sometimes get you up. But because you are deeply in bed, you don't even care. You just use your hand and throw them. But when you throw your hand on them, it won't do anything to them. They will come back to you to get something to eat before they get away from you. But the reason why the feeding is very important in the life cycle of the Plasmodium is this: a mature infected mosquito in your room would not, the merozoites would move all the way to the proboscis, and it is from the proboscis that the fluid that can be spilled into your body is passing through. So when these merozoites are there, they go with this fluid into your body to allow to stop the blood from clotting. I mean, the fluid that goes there stop the blood from clotting so that the mosquito can suck as much as he wants. So he dropped this thing in there with the merozoites. The merozoite will then escape into your system, and then you will have enough blood to suck from you. That is where the infection is taking place. So here is a way that we have to do not to allow them to bite us. If they don't bite us, we don't get infected. They can roll around, they can screw around, they can do whatever they want, but if they don't bite you, infection is prohibited. You can't be infected. So that is the trend of getting infection. And when you are infected by the sucking of the mosquito and you getting the Plasmodium in your system, the Plasmodium may move from the system and just go to the liver, and then in the liver they will mature there and move again to the bloodstream for another mosquito to come and bite you. In the process of, as I said earlier on, in the process of the merozoite moving to the red blood cell and infecting the red blood cell would precipitate that kind of clinical features that may cause you to go and see your physician. I'm not going to talk about any medication related to this. I'm talking about how we can prevent it. So this is how the whole story goes. Now the question is, how do we prevent it? There are two phases of prevention. One is on the mosquito level, and another one is on the human level. The contact of the mosquito and human level. The mosquito level is looking at the cycle of the mosquito. Where do you see them? How do we prevent them from biting us? And how can we allow the mosquito to live with us? Maybe he may suck us, but may not give us any disease. That's another important, because you cannot eradicate all the mosquito. What you can do is, if all of you in the community possibly have no malaria parasite in you, the single mosquito or the family of mosquito living among you cannot transmit the disease. Therefore, he will get something to eat, and then he can reproduce, but you will not get any disease. On the other hand, when one of them gets infected from somewhere and come to live in the community, and we assume that there's nothing there, they can also cause a kind of epidemic in that community. So here we have to look at it from the perspective of not allowing the mosquito to bite us. How can we protect ourselves from the mosquito from biting us? One, we can sleep in mosquito net, but that is not a proper control of it, because if the mosquito is in your room and you have a mosquito net, you cannot reduce the mosquito from biting you. Why am I saying this? Because when you are sleeping, you don't sleep at one spot, and when you are deeply asleep, you roll in your bed. When you come to the edge of the net where the mosquito can pass his proboscis through it, you are not protected. So if you can bet with me that you will not get infection, unless otherwise you sleep in the middle of the net, whereby the mosquito net is not closer to your skin. If the mosquito net is closer to your skin and you say you are lying in the mosquito net, you are playing with the mosquito, because the mosquito will have access on you and feed on you. That is one way. So we are thinking about mosquito net and avoiding the mosquito to come and infected mosquito to come and bite you. The second thing, you can use the mosquito net and soak the mosquito net in anti-mosquito chemical that they will provide you, or whatever you can get it, and sleep in it. Then that scent in the mosquito net will prevent them from coming closer to the mosquito. Therefore, when you sleep and you have your skin maybe touching or closer to the net, the mosquito, because of the scent of the net, may not even appear there. However, when you get up from the room and you are still in the room and the mosquito is there and it's evening or the room is dark, the possibility that the mosquito can get to you again is there. Because if he didn't get you whilst you were sleeping, he will find all possible means to get you when you are in the room there. Therefore, you have to be very watchful. Again, when you are using mosquito net, another thing that you can also do is to spray the room before you go to bed. And maybe be careful the chemicals that you are going to use to spray the room. You have to spray the room and allow the room there to be aerated before you go there to sleep. Else, you may also poison yourself. So you have to use the two things together. You have to spray the room and use the mosquito net. And another thing that I may probably add to the mosquito cycle for the prevention aspect of it is, we have to make sure we don't store waters that this mosquito will go and bleed in it. Because the more they get water, the more the surface area is, the more eggs they lay, and the eggs hatch and they start invading the houses. When you have a small surface, they lay small eggs there, most of the eggs will die, a few will be hatched. But when they have a larger surface to lay eggs, they will lay a lot of eggs there. And these eggs, when they hatch, they will start coming to us to feed us. So we have to limit waters. in containers. Or if you have the container with water, we have to make sure we close them. We don't open them. We have to close them so that the mosquito will not have access to it to go and bleed in it. Or sometimes when we have small waters that we think is not necessary, we have to draw them in the air for it, throw them away, so that the container becomes very empty. This is one way of reducing the breeding size for the mosquitoes. Another thing that has been invented, which I've used it one time, is the lotion. When you rub your skin with the lotion, it will deter them from coming to you. Yeah, but I am not sure when the erosion is the lotion that you apply or the cream that you apply, when it expires, the mosquito will not come. Possibly they will come in numbers. But you have to make sure that you have them. You rub your skin. If you want to expose yourself, rub your entire skin with it so that these mosquitoes will not bite you. And I would strongly prefer that you do them in the evenings and early in the mornings, because in the afternoon they hardly fly, unless otherwise you go to a cold place where they have already settled in the morning. That is where the mosquitoes can come and bite you. But let me just sound a warning here. Not all the mosquitoes are infected. There are some that are infected, others are not infected. But it is very difficult to distinguish between those who are infected and those who are not infected. Therefore, you have to prevent yourself against the two of them. These mosquitoes are very cunning. They can follow you to anywhere. That sometimes they can even sit in your car. The car that you are driving, they will sit in the car from maybe a bigger city to a rural community in the car, and they will be biting you in the car all along until you go to where you are going. And you may not know. When they bite you, you don't know the time that they bite you. 2 weeks after the biting, or maybe a month after it, you will see some signs coming out that you have an infection. You see your body become very hot. Sometimes headache. Sometimes you lose appetite. All kinds of illnesses cropped in there, and you become sick. So you have to go and see your doctor. Back in US here, it's very difficult. When you come here, it's classified as one of the notable diseases. They have to consult CDC for further advice for the treatment. But back at home, all that you need is to get your chloroquine, the 6 tablets for 3 consecutive days, and possibly 4 days. You are good to go. Okay, so that is all about the mosquito and the mosquito bleeding and mosquito bleeding and how we can prevent it and how we can get some clothing to maybe protect it. The next thing is how to wear clothing, protective clothing. Don't wear thin protecting clothing, because their mouth is so sharp that they can dig into the thin clothing and suck your blood. So you need to wear a dress that is more fiber and that will tuck their proboscis and tuck the head so they cannot sit there. If you have something flat and it's almost about the tiny size of your skin, they can just sit on you and bite you. So clothing, you have to make sure we wear a proper clothing for the protection. Again, I'm saying it is in the morning portion and the late evening and in the night that these mosquitoes actually bite more. And again, they also bite in cold places and cloudy areas, where, particularly in cars, which is congested, or maybe in your own taxi or in your own car that you're going. When they get in there, the car is a little bit cold. They find themselves somewhere. When you sit, you see them biting your feet. So you can find some itchy sections on your skin. When they bite you and they see that you're coming, they just fly away and stop somewhere and hang there and see. When they see that you're very quiet, they come back there and start biting you again. So they are very intelligent insects. And when you're dealing with them, you have to be very careful. Now, let's look at how if we get infected, what should we do? while we have talked about the prevention of or reducing the bleeding size of these mosquitoes. And then we have also spoken about how the plasmodium is transmitted from infected person to another. Now we are going to look at if I get infected, what should I do? Okay, let's look at it from this point of interest. The mosquito or infected mosquito bites you or beats you, that day you are not going to show any sign of infection. It will be around 2 weeks to maybe 21 or 28 days that you may start showing the signs. At this point in time, remember, as I said earlier on, they have moved from your liver and the parasite has come all the way to your blood system. And they have started invading all the red blood cells. So when they invade the red blood cells and they grow, the red blood cell burst and secrete some kind of chemicals into the system. That makes your body the body reacting to this makes your body very hot and at the same time very chilly, sometimes headache, and another time vomiting. And to some extent, some people even get diarrhea for that. So as soon as you see this sign, you better go to the hospital or see your PCP. Don't forget to narrate your traveling to your PCP to let him know that you were not in the environment when you got infected. You were in another environment when you got infected. Tell the person where you went so that your PCP or your nursing practitioner can focus his or her attention to the environment that you were and the kind of disease that is prevailing at the point in time that you went there. Let me just re-emphasize on this. When you come here and you have a symptom similar to flu, let me just use this word, similar to flu, if not the same thing like flu. Don't talk about the flu immediately, but look at where you came from 2 to 24 weeks and tell the story of your journey to your PCP so that your PCP will know where you came from and then relate the disease to the environment that you were in, that about 15 to 28 days of your infection. Other than that, all medication could be given to you, but the result might be death. Because malaria parasite is very vigorous. When it attacks your red blood cells, they do it with all kinds of strength to break you down and eventually can kill you. So I want you to pay attention to all the information, a bit of information that I've also given to you. The reason why I am talking about this in this time of the year is that I've said it and probably I want to reiterate on it. This is summer. And as I told you, summer is the bleeding time of the mosquitoes. So as they are bleeding, and since some of our people are mostly carrying the gametocytes of the malaria parasite, the danger is that they bleed, they feed on human beings, therefore they become infected, and when they are feeding you, who is a foreign person in the system, they will transmit the disease to you. So when these mosquitoes transmit the disease to you, know that you are not going to show any sign within the beating time and the first 15 days of the beating. You are likely to demonstrate any sign after 15 days, and more particularly, maybe 28 days. So between the 15 and 28 days is the period that the first symptoms could be exhibited or could be known. And then that is how you have to proceed with your treatment. But my point is, I want you to understand how you can prevent yourself from being infected when you visit the community like Ghana, Nigeria, Liberia, Cameroon, and so for something Gambia and Senegal and other places in the western coast. When you go there in summer, you have to go with all kinds of prevention materials to prevent yourself from malaria infection. There are certain medications that you can take once weekly. There are some that you take continuously for 3 days, and that will be the all for all the month that you are going to stay there. Make sure you do it as prescribed by your PCP, because you don't want to get infected before you come to look for medication for it. Remember, your health is wealth and you need to protect it. When you get sick, you are going to stay home. You won't get money. Nobody is going to feed you. So you're going to be in trouble. Your credit card will be in trouble. You get credit card costs. You don't want to get credit card costs, so you have to consider your health as wealth. And then you need to protect it. You can only protect your health by going through all the preventive things that I've narrated in this discussion. And I believe that when you keep on like that, you can travel to Ghana and come back. You can go to Liberia and come back. You can go to Sierra Leone and come back. You can go to Cote d'Ivoire and come back, or Burkina and come back. You can go to Togo, Benin, or Nigeria and come back, Cameroon and come back without any infection. But if you don't, and you argue with those tiny, tiny mosquitoes flying in the air over there, you are likely to come here with a whole lot of troubles. Yes, this is where I want to end my lessons. And before I leave here, I also want to challenge all our scientists to come out with definitive plans for us to eradicate malaria in the west coast of Africa. Yes, there are countries like all the European countries, there's no mosquito there. There's no malaria there. So there are a lot of mosquitoes, but there's no malaria. When you come back to Canada and the United States, a huge continent, but there's no malaria. There are a lot of mosquitoes here. What stops us from eradicating malaria in Africa? I am so disappointed to tell all of us that we have to put our scientific ideas together and resolve this issue. We don't have to leave our young guys who are coming, or the little guys who are coming, and some of them, because of malaria, they cannot even survive. And those are the people who may probably have come to do something for us. We need to prevent all of them. Their health is wealth to us. We need to protect them all. Our mothers, when they get pregnancy and they get malaria, some of them may even abort it. Some of them get sick and their kids get stillbirth. Some of them, their children grow at the age of 5, they die away. All this is because we are not bringing our scientific ideas together and fight the common enemy of our land. I'm challenging all of us, both home and abroad, that we don't have to be thinking about mosquito net as the predominant way of resolving malaria infection. We don't have to look at prescribing medication continuously to one person. That's a sad story. If one person comes to you more than 10 times with the same disease. What is talking to you? You probably have to think about it in this direction. That why is this person coming here with that same disease? What can we do about it? Or what can the patient do about it? What kind of education do we need to tell them so that they don't come there with that same disease? In fact, this is very sad story to our physicians and our public health officers and our nurses and almost everybody in the scientific classroom. We don't have to sit down and allow malaria, a common insect-borne disease that is preventable, to invade our country. If I'm not mistaken, the government is spending a huge amount of malaria importations. Malaria drugs importation, I'm sorry. So if the government is spending a huge amount of money for malaria drugs importation, I also appeal to the government to push more money in the research work for them, for the scientific team, to bring out a good interventional procedure that they can implement to reduce malaria, so as to reduce malaria infection. Remember, malaria is an infection that can also lead to another infection. If we are able to pull malaria off, then the next infection that comes may also go away. So we have to work hard as scientists. Don't let us sit at our offices with tie on. That is not the resolution answer. Don't let us sit down in big cars and drive from village to village and then go back to our office. That's not the answer. The answer is to go to the grassroots level, to find a problem with them, discuss the problem with them, resolve the problem with them, implement the problem with them, and then see that intervention will work, because when they are part of the deal, they will be part of the resolution. So I am appealing to all the scientific members, both out and home, to come together. Whether you come from Nigeria, whether you come from Burkina, whether you come from Ghana, whether you come from Cote d'Ivoire, let us all unite. Let us all come and see how we can do it, because one country cannot do it from the other, because we are interweight. If I do it in my country and you don't do yours, definitely in the next few days, the parasites may jump into my country because we move from one place to another. Let us all come together and form a core team and then work on this and try and make sure that we eradicate malaria plan. Actually, I have a good news for you. I have a good plan for malaria eradication, but somewhere along the line, I tried to do it in Ghana. They didn't allow me to do it because they never allowed me to go for the program I was going for. However, I am just telling you that the plan is right in my folder here. Anyone who is also interested to join me, please call this program and then give your name to me. I will forward a copy to you for you also to read through it. And then when you agree with me, we'll come together and see how we can resolve the issue. Because I believe all the insect-borne diseases, including malaria, can easily be eradicated in the country. We don't need them. They are not for the transmission is not for us. Even if it is for any other group, it's not for we human beings. We have to survive it. So I'm appealing to you, first and foremost, let's think about malaria. We go to all our ones and try and make sure that we eradicate them. And if you have any contribution towards it, this is my name, Dr. Opoku Agyeman, and you call 240-280-2633. Leave a message there. If you have any question about this, leave a message there. You can text us 510-931-56066. You can also send message to us. I am confidently sure that the information that have passed across about malaria and summer in West Africa, if any of you traveling to West Africa takes it and follow it rigidly, you can go there, enjoy all your summer, and come home without malaria. But if you don't, and you go and think that you are living in any of the country that you left, you are likely to come out here with the malaria, because this is the peak. of malaria infection. It starts from June all the way to September. And it's not because of the summer, it's because of the rain and the sunshine. It facilitates the bleeding of malaria and the bleeding of the mosquito. And then, but the mosquito, the more the mosquito are bled, the more malaria is distributed among us, because they are going to feed on the people, and then they start biting the human being anywhere that they are. So that is the more reason why I'm cautioning every person and all the strangers, particularly when you are going to Ghana. If you go with your malaria preventing medicine, that's okay. But even if you go with malaria preventing medicine, you also have to be very careful, because most of the parasite has some kind of resistance. So you have to prevent yourself from mosquito bite. And then secondly, remember that in the night they feed at the extremities of the day, the night and early in the morning. So you have to be very careful at that time too. And with this, I think I have no more message for you, but my last message is my challenge to all the scientists, the scientific population in the world who come from these West African countries. We are doing a lot. Most of you are researching in vaccines. Yes, vaccines are very good. I believe the Americans and the Europeans did not use vaccine to eradicate malaria. I think a vaccine is going to be very expensive for the country to buy. And I believe that if we are able to eradicate it, we also reduce the cost of buying vaccines for our people every time. It is true that vaccine is also very important, because when you get a vaccine and we vaccinate everybody and malaria is not infecting anyone, you can also eradicate it. So another way to do it is to use the vaccine to eradicate it. But however, we can equally eradicate malaria by reducing the breeding size of the anopheline, and probably having a common way of disposing our materials in the rural communities, so that they don't collect water and facilitate the bleeding of these anopheline mosquitoes. So I'm going to end here, and I'll wait for any other question. If you have any question for me, please, this is the time to ask. You can put in the chat, and then you can also call me on the phone line that is on the that is running down on the screen. Okay, next week we have some information for you. We're going to have another interesting topic, and I'm sure anywhere that you are, please tune in and listen to us. We are going to have some fascinating conversations with you, beginning from this week and next week. We're trying to let everybody know that our system is providing you information, very good information, very resourceful information from resourceful people. So make sure you tune to it and listen to us, even when you are in your car, when you are sleeping, or when you are sitting somewhere alone. Listen to us. We have a good message for you, because your health is worth protected. Thank you, and have a nice and beautiful day. Bye-bye.
C'est mon père, Sampadia, Chimafidi non kotu, era one radio. Samupe, Jumpadia, Chimafidi non kotu, era one radio. Oh, and you punctua, Asan punctua.